Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Open Up Live Talk Show. My name is Sivam Velautham, and I am the founder and the president at Voiceoman 360. Before we get into actual, meeting our today's special guest, I want to go through a couple of things with you. Voiceoman 360 is a non-profit organization founded in 2020 in London, Ontario, Canada, dedicated to supporting men and boys through life's challenges. We align with the International Men's Day movement and its six pillars, which promote the well being of men and boys worldwide. Open Up creates a safe, inclusive space for people from all walks of life to share their life journey, challenges, and triumphs. The program airs on Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. However, today it's just sometimes because of some situations we may switch the times, so it's a little bit late. We are really sorry. Featuring one guest per episode, right? Before I introduce our special guest for today, I would like to review our disclaimer. We would like to remind everyone that VoiceOmen 360 is committed to promoting peaceful harmony in all our interactions. The views and opinions shared by our speakers are their own and do not necessarily reflect those of VoiceOmen 360. Please note that our content is not a substitute or for professional medical or therapeutic advice. If you are struggling with personal challenges, we strongly encourage you to reach out to a qualified expert. For questions or concerns about today's episode or any of our content, please feel free to email us at info@voiceomen360.org. Like I said earlier, we have an amazing guest today. Um, his name is Alden Isaacs, child and youth worker and educational assistant, creator and owner of Mindworkswonders Inc. He's the one actually we're going to meet him today. Hey, Alden, welcome, man.
Welcome. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Great to have you always, always. So let's start with some real questions here. Of course, we want to hear more from you. Um, if you could speak directly to every man and boy who feels unseen, unheard, or misunderstood, what would you want them to remember tonight?
Be still. It's okay to feel how you feel.
Absolutely, yeah. Um, so you work closely with young youth every day. What are some silent struggles you are seeing in boys and young men that most people don't notice?
A lot of our young men have various challenges that they don't bring to the light. A lot of it is poverty. Um, some of the poverty that you don't see is invisible because you'll never know what their home status is really about. Most of them come to school with the same clothes. Some of them know that school is probably the safest place for them, and sometimes going back home uh, just heightens the anxiety. However, being at school and talking to some of these boys, whether it's a high in the hallway or just knowing them through sports and recreation, or even just at recess, uh, you get various interactions. Some interactions are just for the moment. Some interactions are ones that have been built over time, so you built a rapport with them. And oftentimes it's based off of music, sports, their likes, their dislikes, whatever level of respect that they have for you or even for themselves, their comfortability even opening up and talking to you. Um, that's obviously on their feeling or their knowledge or their emotional boundaries with how they're trying to build on that and talk to you and communicate. So it varies through the really through the day, day to day. One day they're stressed about lunch, or but then the next day they're happy that uh, FC Bayern is going to be playing in the quarterfinal. You don't, you know, it just varies on how the interaction or just where they're at in life. And me being the educational um, assistant and child and youth worker that I am, I'm not one to just always seek, hey, how you doing today, buddy? It's not like that, you know. Some of these boys like their space, they like their peace and quiet. They're not really about always opening up about their feelings because it's free speech. Uh, they don't have to, they don't feel comfortable to. And I don't bother nobody to want them to do that. But if I see a frown on their face, I'll tell a joke or I'll cheer them up somehow, some way. Um, Check in by just saying how you doing. Having a rapport with them is always key. So they can always come to you when they feel comfortable to do so. And I, for one, you know, growing up, I had those teachers, and it was never really them coming to me. I would always go to them, and I wouldn't even talk about my situation. I would just know that talking to Mr. Brown about basketball would cheer me right up or would make me feel safe. That whatever I'm going through right now, I got a community of people that I can tap in with just because I've built that relationship with them. So those interactions vary, and it's not just one thing. It's a whole lot of challenges and issues. So we just deal with it on a day to day basis, and we hope that we can put a smile on their face, or in the moment we can make them feel safe, knowing that tomorrow's not promised.
Absolutely, I can understand that. I can relate to some of them. I just want to take you back when you were in high school. In those days, like if you remember, um, and then if you compare, let's say nowadays, in the last number of years, you working with youth. So, do you see, are they more willing to open up and then share their personal issues? Sometimes they need some space with a trusted person, right? So, do you see, let's say, when you compare between yourself back in those days and then now, the kids, youth, younger men, are they changing a little by, or is still you see the same pattern over and over again?
I feel that there's a bit of similarities to where we were back in 2006 compared to where we're at now in 2026, where the boys in high school today are probably just like us back in the day. They got their social circles, they play sports, they don't play sports, talk to girls, they don't talk to girls. They have relationship I guess with their parents or their caregivers. Some of them don't. Some of them live in the streets, from the streets, born in the streets. Some of them have two-parent homes. I find that the youth for today probably have a lot more access than we did. back then. Uh, Back in the day, we took the bus. I lived in Toronto. I remember my bus, 41 Keel Street, or I would go straight on the 96 Wilson. And, you have your crew, your core set of friends where you hoop with, or you play sports with, or you just play video games with. Um, Most of our boys today, high school, especially today, uh, have a lot more access to other lanes than we did. And especially with social media today, everybody's online. Everything is a lot more accessible, a lot more open, a lot more publicized. For the average kid in high school today, there's probably a lot more peer pressure and self-esteem challenges than there were back then. Back in the day was you trying to catch a bubble at the dance, or it was you trying to talk up to that female, or you joining the team, getting cut from a team, getting good grades just so you can stay in the program, you know, having a breakfast in the morning, our breakfast clubs at our schools that were, I think, government funded at the time, having after school programs that, you know, weren't just curriculum based, but you got those teachers that really loved their students for them to excel. You still have that today, but because of, social media now, there's a lot more lanes for kids to tap into, you know, especially for basketball. We had something called Hooptown GTA. You got over 18 points in the game, you made it to Hooptown. Your name was there. That was a big thing for a lot of young boys that were hoopers in Toronto. That gave you status. That gave you a name. That gave you that self love because you were active, you were involved, and you were being recognized. Whereas today, it's Bleacher Report. It's um, any type of platform, content platform that just has to. You don't even have to have a game tape for any sport. You don't have to have a game tape and then just hope that someone sees it. You just upload it within minutes, and it's based on the algorithm. The whole world can see your talent. Uh, you have more publicized activities happening rather than you being part of a crew in your social circles and living your life based on, the block you're from, whether you, as I said before, whether you were homeless, came from two-parent homes, you know, you had what you had back then, which for the time was good enough, right? Today, it's on a whole nother level. And there's a lot more challenges, a lot more problems, a lot more issues, you know, for young men today to navigate. Whereas back in the day, just getting home was good enough. Just making it on the team was good enough. Just, being average, nobody wanted to be average, but it was safe to be average. Back in the 80s, 70s, there was a saying called "It's hip to be square," and I know that a lot of people would say you're a square, or just have a way of undermining you as a man, whereas at a time being a square was safe. You didn't have the problems you had. You didn't have the notoriety. You didn't have the secret jealousy and the envy. Probably did, but it wasn't as big as what you're seeing today, right?
Right.
So
One
yeah,
thing I want to add to that is that even though, like as you said, of course, there are more avenues to explore, especially with the social media and everything. But I mean, even access to um, anything, even any whatever they want. But at the same time, they are struggling with a lot of them. We can see, we hear a lot of them struggling with mental health issues right nowadays, right? It is true that we cannot deny it's happening in our backyard, right? We can see that. So how did your own life experiences shape your passion for men's mental health and creating safe spaces for conversation, Alden?
Well, as a black man, you're you're just looked upon as either you're going to jail, you're gonna die, you got racism against you, you got your own skin color against you, you got your own community looking at you, crabs in the barrel effect. You got, you know, you either being rich or poor, not having an education. You got all those things stacked against you that either you're gonna you're gonna fold or you're gonna make something out of it. Me, I just chose to make something out of it. I had challenges growing up with girls, my friends, my parents, family members, the block, jobs, you know, being targeted for crimes I didn't commit. That was just part of the story. Being betrayed by friends, just for them to get one leg up on you. It was all there because everybody wanted to make it, but some people didn't have the morals, the moral compass, or the character to do it the way they needed to do it, or they just didn't understand once upon a time. You weren't ready, and we all got our paths to learn how, right? So just to keep it short, the challenges that I went through as an adolescent, teen, young adult into adulthood were needed for me to shape where I'm at today, raising children, working with children, families, maintaining my own family, having a platform so that I can creatively express in a healthy manner, right? Because I could have crashed out a long time ago. I could have got mad at the world, but I didn't. I took the pain, I took the struggle, and I just created a diamond. And that's what they say. Pressure may burst pipes, but it also creates diamonds, right? So I think not that I turned out good. I still struggle with the same things that I did back then, but I know now with what I learned over the years, the research that I've done, the prayers that I've prayed, the prayers that have been prayed for me, and even having the wherewithal to look at myself in the mirror and correct myself when I'm wrong, be accountable for where I was wrong, and to also be around people to keep me in not just a safe space, but in a place where there's honesty, there's respect, there's guidance, you know. There isn't misleading, there's no disloyalty or, in Jamaica we call it jinal people. You got people with a second agenda behind them, not just to be your friend. They'll smile in your face, but they'll backstab you just like that. But I learned, and For the best today, I keep my circle small, but I'm still able to connect with every and anybody. It doesn't matter who you are. And it's from a place of respect that I learned that from. And it took some time. It took some embarrassing moments, very embarrassing moments. I'm not going to stand here and say I was perfect. I messed up a lot, but I learned, and here we are today.
Absolutely. Thank you for being honest and also willing to share your personal journey, because every one of us have has unique or different stories. Of course, that's the way life it is, right? So it's a learning experience, right? Each minute, each experience, it's a learning process, right? So whatever we come across, either bad or I mean plus or negative or whatever the situation is always is a learning experience, right?
That's right.
I think it's mold us in such a way so we can return back to our society or whoever we belong to, right? So through the platform you are creating now, just I just want to mention here, the person who introduced you, Alithia, we want to send out a thank you, Alithia, for introducing Alden to our platform. It's always great. People always connect with other people, so like-minded people. So this way we are growing, and then we can help. We can reach more people, though. So the platform you are creating, Mind Works Wonders. So you combine storytelling, creativity, and impact. So why is storytelling such a powerful tool for healing, and especially for men? Can you share some experience, Alden?
Well, I grew up on hip hop, and hip hop, through its early beginnings, was that freedom of speech, innocence, raw um, feeling, energy, high energy, or even low energy, or even sharing and caring and being a part of something. Mindworks Wonders was created by me one day realizing that it's never just things happening to you, right? Your mind is, as you say, voice of men 360. Your mind is in a full 360 every day. What happened yesterday? What happened 10 years ago? What you want to happen tomorrow? What you are working forward? What you looking forward to in the next couple years? Your mind is what cultivates all of that, and you can produce it and put it out there in many shape or form, right? Whether it's drawing or whether it's coloring, painting, short story writing, graffiti, doing lyrics, even you taking a picture and posting it at a place, the timestamp, having a dialogue about where you're at in life. There's a story to tell. And it's not just about exposing yourself or just being a chatterbox or, letting everybody know your business. No, you can give your life characters, and giving your life characters, you can then create small stories that help people with their actual lives that they're living in reality of what's going on. Creating Mindworks Wonders was more intentional based on where I'm at today. That if I could tell you a true story, we at my church, we had something called the Couples Club, and we would meet at the Hiltons, and it was like the 2000s All Star game was playing, and in my mind, the East versus the West. The East was down, the West was winning. Everybody was rooting for the West because, they like Kobe, they like Garnett, they like Duncan, you know. But I loved AI. I loved Vince Carter. As you can see, I got Vince Carter behind me. Uh, I got AI shoes up in here. I was just mesmerized by what I saw on TV, that I saw them come back and they won the game that I said, I'm going to an All-Star game. And I kid you not, I've been to two back to back because as soon as Toronto announced that in 2015, uh, the NBA, Toronto will be hosting the NBA All-Star game, and I had a job, I had a career. Um, and shout out to Mr. Brown, who was my grade 6 tech teacher at Humber Summit Middle School. And he told me, I used to ask him because he had all the shoes, all the Jordans, everything. But he was just this very quirky, nerdy guy. And I don't mean to disrespect him like that. That's not how I feel about him, but that's what it was. Ripped jeans, white shirt, skinny build, thick glasses, Caucasian male. But he was all about the max, and he used to always play the McDonald's Monopoly game. But he would have all the shoes, any single Nike shoe that you could think of between 96, 97, all the way into 2000. And I only had him for my grade 6 years. So that was like 96, 97. Pippins, all of that. He had that. And I asked him, sir, why do you have so much shoes? And they were all fresh, kept neat. He was like, well, Mr. Isaacs, when you have a career, you can do whatever you want. And I looked at that and I built my understanding around that, where I started seeing things in the future at that time. Did I see all of this? Absolutely, I did. Family, lifestyle, playing ball, I saw all of that. It's just you needed that person to help cultivate that identity or that imagination within you, right? And I was able to then take that, and as soon as All Star came in, I did my research, researching vendors, NBA events. I found Quint events online. I didn't believe them until I kept talking to some of the guys over the phone about the program, and they shared with me it's, you get a bronze, silver, gold package, and they just told me this is what it's for, this is how much you'll pay. You could do it in payment plans, and I did a payment plan with them, and lo and behold, they sent me an email. Go to the Sheraton downtown Toronto, pick up your bag, show your ticket that you paid your credit card with. I mean, we'll give you a ticket. You just show your credit card you paid with, and we'll take it from there. And it's not until I walked into the Air Canada Center, which is now the Scotiabank Arena, that I saw my childhood heroes. I saw Big Shot Robert Horry. I saw Michael Jordan. I saw Kobe Bryant, LeBron James, um, you name it, Isaiah Thomas, you name it. Uh, Drake, you got to see your heroes once upon a time. And you then realize that, it's not just your manifestation, it's the fact that you had an idea. And with that idea that came into mind, you produced the idea into physical form. You put in the work by saying, hey, this is what I got lined up, this is what I want to do. Let me separate everything, deal with what I got to deal with right now, take care of everything as it comes along. And lo and behold, uh, the perfect example, give me a sec. Um, I still keep, I still keep my tickets. You know, this is I still keep my tickets, man. CN Tower, holograph, still keep my tickets. And it just gives you that understanding that you have the ability to think about it first and bring it to life. And that's when I was able to take Mindworkswonders out of here and create something that can help me express myself and also, give tools to the young men or even the young women today, that it all starts here. You got to believe it and you could produce it.
Absolutely, you have a lot of memories. I love that. And one thing is always is believe in yourself before you believe everything else, right? And
That's right.
it start in your mind, right? It can be idea, it can be a simple thought, but if you really really believe in, then work on it or dream on it. I mean, so it will happen sometimes. So you don't worry too much about the time, but someday if you're serious, it will happen. It will bring you, or it will come to you, right? So it's
Exactly.
a very magical moments. Sometimes we never thought or we don't believe that, but it is very magic. It is very true. So
That's right.
I want to. So, in your experience, how does a sports like basketball, of course, you're a big fan, help a young boys develop emotionally, not just physically? What do you think?
Um, First, I want to give a big shout out to my grade 7 and 8s at St. Joseph Catholic School. We won our championship this year, and this is based off of last year's feedback when we lost. And my student, I can't say names, uh, said, "Mr. Isaacs, last year your substitutions were horrible, and some of the plays that you ran last year didn't work because it wasn't for the lineups that you put out." And at first, when he told me that, I was kind of taken aback by it because I was like, "Who are you to tell me that? I'm your coach. You don't tell me that." But then I sat back and I was like, he's right. Because when we faced that last team, because their format is kind of different from most schools where they would do shifts. And it's not just you get your starting five, you play, you get your substitutions in. No, it shifts. And then the last quarter, you're allowed to substitute, or certain amount of points you can't press, but up to 15 points, you're allowed to press teams. So I had to listen to his feedback, and I won a championship this year based off of that feedback because I went back to my two fellow colleagues because they're the ones that deal with the operations. I was just the coach. I just knew plays. I knew how to implement plays. I knew how to run and operate practices. And they dealt with, the organization of our games, our practices, and making sure kids got their forms in and communication with parents, teachers, facilities, principals, all that stuff. I dealt with coaching. So the feedback that I got from my students, I was able to implement that into this year's season, and we won. Now, emotionally, there were some kids that did not get to play. I'll be honest with you. There were some kids that I had to bench in the championship game, not because I didn't trust them, but because I have to make sure that we get our elite players to perform so that if they get tired, yes, bench players step in. We are able to help facilitate that so that we can still implement our plan. Now, the feedback that I got from that in between games, because it was just like it was a tournament, and talking to some of the boys, some of them were upset. Some of them were like, "Mr. Isaacs, I really wanted to play." And I told them even at practices at our, school that there's going to be some games where The players that are a lot more experienced or have a higher skill level are going to have to get more playing time. But because of all the things that we practice and all the things that we talk about and implement, we need y'all to stay ready and locked in because when your number is called, we need you. And I had a student last year who kept turning over the ball in our final game that I learned that I can't put him in that moment. I benched him. He was mad at me. He was really mad at me, but I kept encouraging him on the bench. Your time's going to come. You're not starting, but that does not mean you're not going to play at all. And he was patient. He was mad. But then when I called him in that fourth quarter, when we needed a bucket, we needed defense, we needed a guard, I called him up and I told him exactly what to do. And because I benched him and that fire was under him, he did everything without complaint. He did everything and made sure he did it to a T. He did not turn over the ball, and he's a turnover pro. He turns over everything because he wants to cross and dribble, dribble, dribble. When the offense is, we're trying to break a zone here. You can't dribble into two, and you can't dribble into a press. You dribble into two people, yeah, you might get to cross one, but the other one's waiting for you to turn your head or dribble the ball in an awkward position, and then they can take off and steal, and then it becomes like a 10-2 run, and then they're up eight. You don't want that. We we need that poise, right? So I was able to deliver based off of what I learned from them and the talks that I had even with my coaching staff or even with the boys. Uh, it was all based off of yeah, we want to win, but how do we win as a team and how do we accept our roles so that we all feel that we're contributing to a championship? And I kid you not, final game came and I told the boys, same thing. This is what we're doing. This is how we're doing it. Follow it. Don't step outside. Stay within. Be patient. Move the ball. We, as long as we capitalize on our offense and we do the best we can on defense and we grab rebounds, we'll be fine. If we're trying to dribble through press, dribble through a zone, we're in trouble. If we're trying to force up shots that we don't need, we're in trouble. If we're trying to overplay ourselves by trying to cross and make ourselves look good, we're not going to make the team look good. And it just so happens that they just followed the protocol and we won. And I think on the emotional side, talking to some of the boys, they were happy with the outcome because they understood the mission. And that just comes with being on a team, right? You have to be, you have to stay right. You gotta lock in. But then you also have to understand that just like being in the office, you have a role to play that may not be on the front lines. You have a role to play that might not put you in the spotlight. You have a role to play that may not give you a hand clap or a props or a hug or that tap on the shoulder or that reassurance that, hey, we see the hard work you're doing, but keep it up. It's just for these young men, it's different because they need that type of encouragement, right? They need that type of assurance that they're being cared for, they're being seen. So, me as a coach, I just approached it differently this season and I got the outcome and they got the outcome. And I kid you not, some of them used to always be at the office. They haven't been to the office since. So I think we did something. And, I think they're still thirsty for more basketball because the basketball season's over. But, you know, the grade eights are happy that they won their championship so they can leave graduating. The grade sevens, because I had more grade sevens than grade eights, are up next year. And I'm going to get my team back like nothing happened. Only four grade eights are gone. The rest of my sevens, they're going to get their growth spurts. They're going to grow stronger. They're going to be more hungrier. So I'm excited, man. But definitely. When it comes to just understanding the emotional side of things, it's sometimes these guys want you to hold their hand. They want to know that they're safe. They want to know that they're okay and that they're doing the right thing. And even when I'm disappointed in them, I'll get down to their level and I'll let them know, hey, erase it. Let's get back on the court and let's get back to it. So definitely, that was my learning curve this year, and we won. So shout out to St. Joseph Knights. We
Absolutely,
did
yeah.
that.
Congratulations to you, to your team. There are a lot of things in that moment, or in the whole game. It's a beside the victory, beside winning the game. A lot of emotional challenges, a lot of layers, I would say, like pieces into that. You know, Patience, or learning from the relationship between the coach and the team, and team members, and also the how do you handle situation, right? It's not easy, and also
Right,
mostly on the one side, we can see men, we pretty much we deal with the emotional situations, but at the same time, if we can channelize in a proper way, we can see the positive result, right?
let me
So
actually say something that you just said.
yeah,
Channeling that is very important because if I have to go back to what I just said, we lost our first game. We lost, and the boys were upset because we were winning, and the other team crawled back and won the game, and they were upset. They were mad. They didn't know. They gave up right then and there. They actually gave up. And when we had our talk in the change room, they actually said, "Mr. Isaacs, we don't even want to win this trophy. We just want to face that team." And I told them, "Well, you guys might get your shot." And as fate would have it, I kid you not, the same team that beat us that first game, we met them in the finals. So they manifested that. And once they realized, oh, we're facing them again, it's on. It just clicked. I'm
exactly, it's
telling
it's
you.
it's a space that you allow them to trust. One is yourself, and also trusting them, actually. So it's between the coach and the team, right? Not
That's right.
only you touching them, I mean, you trusting them, or they trust you, but it's a both side. It's not a one way, beside winning the game. As I
Right.
said earlier, it's a lot more than that, right? And that's the way they can learn a lot of things. Especially nowadays, we lost, or we don't have a proper, or leadership, lack of a leadership, I would say. There are a lot of things that they are facing, but here and there, coaches like yourself, it's very positive, very helpful, so they can learn, right?
That's right.
Absolutely. So the other question is that, what does a truly safe space for men look like, and what are we still getting wrong when trying to create those spaces, man?
Safe space for men looks like a place where they can not just talk, but they can feel, they can reason, they could not just pass judgment or feel judged, but talking about their experiences makes them feel like they don't leave the place drained or they don't leave the place feeling like I just emptied myself out to people that wouldn't take the time of day to help me. And some people feel vulnerable like that. Even in the safest places, some people feel like that, bro. Some of us are scorned, some of us are traumatized, some of us are dealing with PTSD, some of us are having those memories and those thoughts. So for men, especially because we're fragile when it comes to our ego, we're fragile when it comes to our ego. That's like our shield, right? And words don't hurt unless you make them a reality in your mind that what they're saying is true and you believing them. Because when people used to say certain things about me, I didn't have knowledge of self once upon a time. And I'm talking about even at my church where there was a lot of homophobic stuff being slandered on my name. I never took it to heart. Girls would say that if I didn't sleep with them. Girls would say that if they wouldn't like me or feel like they could talk to me in that type of way. Or if you didn't do what you were supposed to do in the eyes of other men. And then you're looked upon as, oh, you're classified as this now. And then lo and behold, later on in your life, none of that stuff really come to pass. And some of those same people hide. They can't really look at you because they know the type of damage they did behind the scenes. But it didn't really do nothing. I ain't got no scars. It just so happens that you planted seeds of strange fruit and you planted that seed in my mind while doing that to others. And then that fruit will grow. That tree will grow. And there's going to be a time where you got to reap what you sow, right? There's got to be a time where a harvest is going to come to pass. And it just so happens that, as I said, none of that stuff came to pass. And some of those people that did the slandering, they don't even talk to that person anymore. They don't even bump fists with those people anymore because everybody's life moved on. And I harbored a lot of feelings. I harbored a lot of the pain. I had this girl one time because of all the rumors that went about me. She came to me one day and tried to gaslight me. And she spoke ill on my son's name, saying, if that was you back in the day, does that mean that your son is going to be like that too? I looked at her and I didn't really get mad. I just looked at her and I was like, at first I was taken aback by it because I know it was a girl that liked me, but I didn't really feel nothing for her like that. It wasn't like that. But, when you say something like that, people are waiting for your reaction, like you're going to go crazy or say something to them. I looked at them and I'm like, first of all, I don't know. Second of all, my son's innocent. He's a baby. And I looked at because I could have easily called her out because at that point in time, yeah, you crossed the line, but now you're actually giving me real predator vibes. You're showing that you're capable of doing something to my son. And as a parent, I now gotta look at you and be like, okay, on guard. You're crossing a line here. But I made it clear that I'm not gonna cross that boundary to do something to you. I'm gonna give you a simple answer and we're gonna move on. But from that day forward, I'll never talk to that person ever again. Not because I don't want to talk to them. I can talk to them and actually have a conversation with them, not to contradict, but I can talk to that person if I feel so. I have no bad blood. It just so happens that in my mind, you spoke ill on a baby. And, you know, one thing I know about God is that you don't mess with the children ever, you know? So I just had that understanding and I took it upon myself to then say, okay, fine. This is what it was at a time in my life where people had their ideas and had their views. But then I was able to then say, that's not my identity. That's not my knowledge of self. That's not who I think I am and who I value. So take it for what it is. If they want to say that, you don't have to act out. You know your truth. You can live your truth, even in the midst of them. To this day, some of them will see me walking up the side of the road, even with traffic. They'll cross the street and won't cross that path because they know better. But that doesn't mean that I was attacked. I can still shake your hand. I can still hug you. And I forgive. I just don't forget. And I understand that I am still needed in this world so that I can still be a vessel. So that if people see that, then they could be like, oh, that's how you're supposed to act when something like that happens. I don't have to be outraged or mad or I got to come back with something to say to you. No, you can be in the moment. You can breathe. You don't have to run. You can give them an honest answer. And if they don't take it at face value, you can move on too. It's fine. So yeah, man, that was that. I think that's where, for me, that maturity piece clicked in and I can be honest with where I'm at today. And by God's grace, I have a son that's coming up and I got to teach him these things. I have a daughter that's coming up and I got to teach her those things so she don't step on men's toes herself, right? So that's kind of where the training ground started. And I was able to then be the best I can in those moments. So, and it's all a learning curve too. Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree with you because it's sometimes we come across people and then they are in a different position and then they take it. Sometimes when they understand us, they have totally different position, and if they don't, it's very hard. But it's a life, right? You have to deal with it, and then the way you deal with it, of course, at the end of the day, we cannot really control everything. The other
That's
person,
right.
they have to see on the broader spectrum and then understand, right? It's not
That's
a
right.
personal attack or anything, but at the same time, we had to explain whatever, however we can, right? Um,
And who's to say that they're not dealing with their own trauma
mhm.
or their own guilt
Right.
or their own self-doubt that they had to place that on you at the time,
Hmm.
right? Which was probably needed because both of you needed to learn something in
Yeah,
that moment,
exactly. Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Yeah. So yeah, it's the news you can use, such that my director would always say, the news you can use, you know?
absolutely. Yeah. So let's quickly move on. I just have a few announcements and then I will come back to you, Alden. Okay, stay there.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Quickly, guys, I want to shout out a couple of announcements. So the one is that the big announcement recently, Canadian government actually announced that Canada's men and boys health strategy. The government of Canada is engaging provincial and territorial governments, indigenous partners, and key stakeholders to develop a men's and boys health strategy. The goal is to create a supportive and safe environments, challenge harmful stereotypes, reduce stigma, and encourage men of all ages to seek help when they need it. Improving the health of men and boys is a shared effort. The factors that lead to poorer health outcomes for men and boys are complex and interrelated and don't begin in adulthood. Join the conversation. Your voice is important. Complete the questionnaire by June 1st, 2026. Organizations and experts are encouraged to submit written briefs responding to the questions. So, you guys, I already displayed that the link, so you can click and then you can actually go to that website and then submit your thoughts, inputs. It's always welcome. And then this is the first time. It's a very good move. Thanks to the Canadian government. At the same time, anyone, individuals, everybody we encourage. Please take your time and then you know do your duty. So the other thing is that we have a live talk show that you are actually watching right now is the Open Up live talk show. It's Sunday on Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, and a monthly men's group meeting only for men by men. Second Saturday of every month from 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. Through Zoom. No recordings. Please join through Zoom. The link is available on our Facebook page and group. Um, there are no limitations on gender, age, nationality, or ethnicity. People from all walks of life can participate in any of our shows. If you like to be a guest on any of our shows or are interested in joining our organization, whether directly or indirectly, please reach out to us. We would love to work with individuals, professionals, experts, community organizations, associations, corporations, government officials, and businesses. Our phone number is 226 289 8784. Again, 226 289 8784. Email address info at voiceomen360.org. Website www.voiceomen360.org. And social media, Facebook group and page we have. So please join our Facebook group. You can see our daily activities and please invite your friends to join. Other social media platforms are Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, Twitter, and YouTube. And please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Voiceman 360. There are more than 600 episodes on various topics. You can see. So I already displayed his Alden's email address, and yeah, please reach out to him, of course. So if you have any questions, comments, or if you have we want to work with him, absolutely. So he's building his platform, Mindworkswonder. So coming back to Alden, is that I do have a few more. It's kind of like a quick questions.
All
One
right.
one word to describe today's young men:
Hidden.
basketball or deep conversation.
Basketball.
One habit every young man should build.
Physical fitness or being fitness. I'll say fitness.
Biggest barrier in men face in opening up, and what does open up mean to you? And when it comes to men and boys,
Vulnerability
right,
and being being s- being felt, I guess, small, feeling like you're small and not good enough or
right.
not worthy enough.
One message you want everybody, every boy to hear growing up.
Never give up, never give in. Strive for
Nice,
what's right.
very nice. So, last question. Let's close with this. If you could speak directly to every man and boy who feels unseen, well, I think I have already asked you. Maybe if you want to elaborate, um, unheard or misunderstood, what would you want them to remember tonight?
Rest.
That's nice. All right, man. Thanks a lot, Alden. Today we had an amazing guest, Alden Isaacs. So he joined us and then shared a lot of information, a lot of personal experiences, I would say. And whoever is watching on the other side, probably you guys grab at least a couple of things. So this way, it's not only creating awareness, at the same time, um, we take whatever it aligns or resonate with us, and then apply in our personal life, right? Or even whenever we come across any situations, we can go back and then take some of his words, so I really appreciate for joining and sharing your life experiences with us tonight, Alda.
I appreciate that, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Um, with that, we will close this episode today. One, just a big favor or a request to everybody, not only you guys watching and listening to this podcast, but at the same time, please share with other people. So this way, you can actually make an impact, which is like, let's say, other people can share at the same time. It's by sharing, we can reach out more people, and then whoever can benefit from this episode, absolutely, it will we can make a more positive impacts in somebody's lives. Thanks a lot, Alden. See you guys next time. Thank you.
Take care, everyone. Thanks again.